Morning, Mike. 1-0 in the SEC. Can't really worry about how you get it done, I guess. You just need a win against a team like Auburn, and they got it done. What's your thoughts on Arkansas 24, Auburn 14?
Well, J.J. Metters commenting yesterday on social media put it as well as anybody. He said a lot of fans don't understand how hard it is to win any game in the SEC. I mean, the league is loaded. A lot of complaints from fans who are not going to give this team credit for anything, saying, well, they didn't beat a very good team. I'll just say this. By SEC standards, I think when the season's over, no, Auburn's not going to be very good. If you look at the schedule they have left, they may not win an SEC game. I mean, they're not playing Mississippi State. There's no divisions left. And I don't know, maybe they can beat Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt's no pushover this year. I think that's why they went all out to win this game. I think Hugh Freeze had his guys pumped up. I think he told them you can out-physical Arkansas, hit them in the mouth, and win this game. And then you saw him come out, the hit on Andrew Armstrong. But what did he do? He got right back up, came back in the game, and ended up being one of the big forces in the game offensively for Arkansas. And in the fourth quarter, in a very physical game, I thought Arkansas finally just wore those guys down with that long ball control on the ground drive. So, I mean, it was a big win. Arkansas had to have it. So did Auburn. And right now, I wouldn't want to be Hugh Freeze, I promise you.
Yeah, I don't know where you want to start. I want to start with something positive, Mike. Have you noticed our third down conversion rate? And, like, what is the success? Is it just the fact that he is a dual-threat quarterback and he's being able to do things with his legs? But the way we're picking up third downs this year is pretty remarkable.
Well, he's got, again, every time he makes a mistake, and people start saying he's too inconsistent, he comes back and does something with his legs, and sometimes it's in the passing game. It's not just running. I mean, he didn't get benched, but I think a lot of fans thought he got benched in the third quarter. Apparently he had cramps, but he'd just thrown a pick. Those guys had come back and scored and tied that game up for the first time, and he came back on the field and threw the longest touchdown pass he's had in his career, I think, 58-yard to Satania. That was huge, and that's called responding. That's what you have to do. I don't know how long it's going to take for him to be more consistent. Jaquindon Jackson seems to be his spokesman every week. He sounded off again after the game about how he gets nervous. Well, they got to figure out a way to get him over the nerves, because he's got the ability. I do think, guys, sometimes he doesn't see the field real well. I think that's why he targets Armstrong so much. Armstrong's good and catches the ball. But I think that's why Broden is still in there, even though he's struggling, is because he's 6'7". And I think it's why Satania doesn't always get targeted, because he's not as tall. So you may have a quarterback that right now just doesn't see the field as well as he'd like to. I'm not a quarterback. I don't know what you have to do to develop that. A lot of people questioning why the tight ends aren't more involved. I don't know the answer to that. We're supposedly going to ask that question at the press conference today. But this looks a lot better than it did look. I really didn't know if they'd win this game. I didn't. After what happened against UAB, I wasn't sure. But they came out and really played well in this game.
We got a question from D in Fort Smith. Wanted to know about how long you roll with a coin flip kicker. The other aspect of that is we don't know what Matthew Shipley is, because he hasn't had a chance to go out there and play yet. Although I think he had a couple of kickoffs at Auburn this past weekend. But Kyle Ramsey, so he missed one. He did hit another one. It was a pretty important field goal. It just feels like it is a little bit of a coin flip, and maybe that's just what you're going to deal with this season. That's my sense.
Well, Pittman says that's nerves. He thinks there's nothing wrong with him as a kicker. He gets in front of these SEC crowds, and sometimes, kicks off to the left is what I'm seeing. But he did come back. That second field goal was really important, and he made it. So I don't think there'll be a change there. Those people that want Taylon Green to be benched, even Clint Sterner came back to yesterday and said, well, wait a minute here. I think, he's your quarterback. I just don't see how you can look at this situation and say you want to put a redshirt sophomore in there with virtually no experience and throw him into the middle of the SEC when he didn't really have any build up to this except for that season opener game.
He had a throw. He got in and threw it into the dirt. The receiver was open and he threw it into the dirt. And what you're talking about a little bit, Mike, when you get a free runner a lot, Taylon Green does look at the pass rush before he looks, so he knows where Armstrong is, but that's also why he's able to dodge the free runners. When you're seeing a blitz, you can see kind of what's going on there. But let's talk about TJ Metcalf, number 18, and the game. I'm trying to think of just like to put that game up there. He single-handedly won this game for us. I mean, without him, I don't know if we win. Tony Bua had 21 tackles against Tennessee. He made some plays. Where do you put that TJ Metcalf game?
It was up there. I mean, the SEC Player of the Week, no co-Player of the Week, Player of the Week. Look, he had 2 picks. He got his hand and deflected a pass that ended up being the 3rd pick, and he had a strip on a surefire touchdown, and that was a heck of a play. So, I mean, he had so many impactful plays in this game, and the guys got confidence. And they just need to get other guys more involved. But there was a complaint going into this game, guys, no pass rush, no sacks. What's going on with this D-line? Well, you had 2 sacks. You had 4 thrown for lost plays. You had numerous quarterback hurries. I'm convinced the reason that both our Auburn's quarterbacks were throwing picks is because they were being harassed. So I think that complaint went by the wayside. This defense got it going in this game.
They got it going, but it was also where those turnovers occurred. I mean, their running back, Alston, was about to score him, and TJ stripped him. I think it was at the 5-yard line. And then I don't know if it was within the red zone, but it certainly was close on the pass that Metcalf got his hand on and Slaughter intercepted. So there was a little feeling of a bend but don't break. But also, I mean, this goes to what they're being coached at, the way that TJ talked about with how Travis Williams tells them the angles you're going at. And I've seen Jaden Johnson try to strip a running back, or I think it was a receiver from UAB near the goal line too. They're going for those sort of plays. It worked out for TJ in that case. Now you got to wonder can they continue to, I guess you would say, hawk the ball. It's not too many games you get 5 turnovers, but you do have an A&M team coming in that's had a little trouble throwing it to the opponent too. 6 interceptions in 4 games.
Exactly. I think there's no question A&M's a better team than Auburn, but what you have to understand, in this game, Auburn gave it their best shot. They didn't look like the team I saw. I watched the replay of that Cal loss. They didn't even look like that team. So Auburn was all in. They played above their heads, and I don't know that the A&M game is going to be any more physical than that game was. Again, a lot of it's going to – I think the defense will respond. Just whether or not Taylon Green can just be a little bit more consistent or do what he's been doing and figure out a way to make a play when he has to. I feel pretty good about their chances to win that game. Bobby Petrino, always had good luck in Jerry World.
And, I understand the job of being an SEC head coach, and a lot of people had Napier. A lot of people might have had Pittman. I didn't, but outside media, as far as being the first SEC coach fired. Hugh Freeze, could he be the first? Could he be fired this season? How are you feeling right now if you're an Auburn fan?
Well, he went all out on this game. Now what do you do? Because you got your guys all jacked up. Now you can't be emotional. You can't win every game on emotion. And now the rest of their schedule is brutal. Now, their fans did jump in and defend him when Bo Wallace, that was an incredible exchange on X, where the former Ole Miss quarterback under Freeze, Bo Wallace, who's now, I guess, an offensive coordinator in the junior college ranks, he just went off on the guy. Said his senior year he jacked him up with painkillers and all kinds of stuff, and said he didn't do it for me, he did it for himself. And he said it's time he stopped blaming players and accept some of the blame for himself. He said, my son will never play for him. Now, Auburn fans defended Freeze because, look, Bo Wallace is an Ole Miss guy. They're not going to, at this point, they're not going to side with him. But if you don't win an SEC game this year and you get to the end of the year, and especially if that affects recruiting, because right now Auburn is recruiting really well, but is it going to hold up? And that was a scathing scathing attack from a guy that used to be one of his quarterbacks.
Kind of wondered if we may see Walker White at some point for Auburn, huh? And I think you hit it on the head. It's a lot of it has to do about how the recruits feel, because you can even hear in the things that Freeze was saying after the game is, we've got to find a guy. We've got to find a guy. We need a team that does. It already feels like he's over his second year at Auburn, and he's looking to his third. It's just you can't ever guarantee there is a third, because if the way you're talking, Mike, you're looking ahead at them, OU, Georgia, Mizzou, Kentucky on the road, maybe Vandy. I mean, who knows? 1-7. I don't think that's something that they would necessarily accept. But I do see Arkansas right now. Like this past Saturday's game, Mike, to me that feels like a game that last year's team would have lost, found a way to lose. I know it's not one of those one-score games, but it was pretty close to it. And the reason it wasn't a one-score game is because they had that late drive where they just ran it down Auburn's throats, and Jackson, nudged the ball up against the goal line. To me, that is sort of a one-score game, even though the final score was 10.
Yeah, exactly. All these complaints, I consider it, they're saying he loses all these one-score games, but he loses close games. Well, he didn't lose a close game here. Another complaint is, they start off playing well, and then they run out of gas in the second half. Well, we know that didn't happen. They dominated the fourth quarter. Some guy sent me a text and wanted to know when Arkansas was going to play four full quarters. Well, they did in the season opener. But, I don't know how you look at this game, but they never lost a quarter of this game. They dominated the first quarter, even though there was no scoring. They had 2 long drives and scored 1 play into the second quarter. So they dominated and won that first quarter. I think it was pretty much a draw in the second quarter, but they certainly didn't go backwards. And then they won the third quarter and won the fourth quarter. So, I just think some of these things are going away that people have been hanging on. They've still got a lot of work to do. It could still go the other way. I mean, they won one SEC game last year. I guess they could not win another one the way things go, and then they'd be back where they started. But this is just a better team. It's better defensively, and I think they've got a happier quarterback, a quarterback that's happy with the offensive coordinator as opposed to last year.
It also feels like, so I really like the depth of the backfield. I like what we saw from Braylon Russell at Auburn. Rodney Hill has shown a little bit. Do you feel like Satania's really the number 2, or was this sort of just like a one-off game? Because they're still looking to Tyrone Broden as often as he's looked to Satania. It's just Broden just can't catch the ball right now, and Satania caught everything that came to him in Game 4.
Yeah, again, I think Petrino keeps bringing him out there because Taylor Green is comfortable with his height. He can see him, but he's got to start catching the ball. I mean, you can't just go with this guy the entire year when he's dropping everything that gets thrown his way. So I'm not sure what they're going to do in that respect, but that's another complaint about the passing game. And this one doesn't have anything to do with Green. It's the receivers, some of them anyway. Some of them, and really it's just one guy. And then the other question mark is what's going on with the tight ends? And I'm not sure about that. That's a question that's going to get asked today at Sam Pittman's press conference. But that's a legitimate bewilderment to me, because when you got Luke Hasz and Ty Washington, and you throw one pass to Washington and he got hurt, I don't know. I'm anxious to see what his situation is for the A&M game. But, I mean, Luke Hasz, you got to get the ball to that guy. He's a weapon, and I don't know what's happening there.
Well, Sam starts the press conference in a little over 12 minutes. We'll let you go, Mike, and get set up for that. Always appreciate you hopping on with us on Mondays. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.